It is Tuesday, May the 3rd, 2011. You're tuned into The Exchange. I'm Scott Spears, your host, along with my cohorts, Charlie Evers, Mary Ann Michaels, Fritz the Night Owl, and sitting in this week, a guy you're very familiar with, Dave Kaler, having a lot of fun. And it's only Tuesday, so a lot more to come this week. We're going to start today off by reading our sponsors, thanking them. We need to do that. As today's episode of The Exchange is brought to you by the Ohio Neck and Back Pain Relief Center, Scott M. Gray, D.C., across from the Marion Center between TSC and Kroger. For further information, dial 740-386-6580. Night Owl Theater, located on the net at www.fritzlives.com. For further information, email nightowltv@yahoo.com. And by Bucyrus Placemats. To put an ad on the placemat, call Wayne Flighter at 419-562-8473, located at 116 Wayne Avenue in Bucyrus, Ohio. Catch him on the net at www.bucyrusplacemats.com. And we're going to start today, as we do each and every day, by going to our good pal Charlie Evers with This Day in History. Charlie.
I think one of the most important things in history occurred in 1894 on this date. A fellow by the name of George Cole entered the retail market with a product called 3-in-1 oil. Now, what does 3-in-1 mean?
What does 3-in-1 oil mean?
50 cents?
Is that what it is? 50 cents difference?
No, I tell you for 50 cents. No,
No.
Clean, lubricate, and protect. That's the three.
Which one, when it was one, what did it do?
It oiled, it lubricated, protected.
No cleaning.
No.
Okay.
But there's one other thing. 3-in-1 oil has a particular odor. It's the only oil I think that has that particular smell. Do you know what it is?
I don't. Does anybody know what oil smells like? Tell us, Charlie.
It's citronella.
Citronella?
Yes. It's still in 3-in-1 oil. Although 3-in-1 oil now is owned by WD-40.
So it'll keep the bugs away.
Yes, that's right. You coat yourself with 3-in-1 oil and nothing comes around.
You'll be clean, lubricated, and what's the last thing?
Protected.
Protected.
Yes.
There you go. Get yourself some oil this summer as it's upon us. We're going to move on. If you don't have anything to do tonight, if you want something to do, or maybe you have plans and you want better plans, here's a guy who can help you get those. Fritz the Night Owl with the Flick Pick. Fritz?
And thank you, Scott. Tonight our Flick Pick is an inspiring true story about two of the most outstanding women in American history in the 20th century, Annie Sullivan and Helen Keller. The movie is called The Miracle Worker, comes from 1962, was based on the best-selling book by Helen Keller called, I believe it was called The Story of My Life. And it was originally produced as a Broadway play and then transferred to the movie in 1962, directed by Arthur Penn, who did a marvelous job of translating the Broadway stage play and the book to film. Annie Sullivan is a dedicated teacher who is given the task of teaching the deaf and blind Helen Keller how to communicate with sign language. And Helen Keller lives in her own, she's maybe 9, 10, 11 years old, has been blind and deaf since birth, lives in her own silent world, and is very antagonistic to people who try to help her or touch her or so forth. So Annie Sullivan has quite a job on her hand to teach this girl the basics of how to survive in society. As I say, it's a true story, inspiring story. Annie Sullivan is played by Anne Bancroft, and the 16-year-old Patty Duke plays Helen Keller. Both of them won Academy Awards for their performances. The lead, Anne Bancroft, won as Best Actress. Patty Duke, who was 16 years old at the time, you may remember her from the Patty Duke Show, where she was twins, very nice twins. But Patty Duke was 16 at the time. She won Best Supporting Actress. And not only is the story true and inspiring, there are some incredible dramatic moments, and there's a physical fight between Annie Sullivan and Helen Keller, where Annie is trying to pass along some information to Helen, and it's an 8-minute knockdown, drag out because Helen Keller screams and kicks and bites and scratches and claws. And this is one of the things that they're trying to get her more adjusted to society. You can't go wrong with this one. As I say, it's true, it's inspiring. It's called The Miracle Worker, and I think you'll enjoy it.
I think they still show that to about every 7th grade class. It's just
Oh, really?
Oh, it's a wonderful, wonderful movie. I'm going to get right into the current event today because it's a whopper and going to be one to talk about. Ohio State University men's football head coach Jim Tressel could lose $3.7 million a year if he resigned or gets fired for his role in the Tattoo Gate mess the Buckeyes are embroiled in with the NCAA. Tressel is scheduled to earn that much annually through 2014, according to his contract obtained by Columbus Business First, a sister paper to the Dayton Business Journal from Ohio State. But the university could be off the hook for paying him if the coach is found to have violated any of his termination for cause provisions. The saga took another twist with the disclosure of a letter sent by the NCAA to Ohio State President Gordon Gee. The letter said Tressel, and this is a quote, failed to deport himself in accordance with the honesty and integrity normally associated with the conduct and administration of intercollegiate athletics when he didn't alert school officials that some of his players were selling Buckeye football awards and equipment and accepting free or discounted tattoos in violation of NCAA rules. It's the story that won't die. I'm going to go to Dave Kaler for this one to start us off because, Dave, you still have a very prominent position with the Buckeyes.
Well, with the announcement with the Ohio State Marching Band, and the Marching Band has nothing to do with the athletic department other than the fact that the athletic department provides the budget for the marching band. Yeah, it's hard to say. You know, it's kind of an unusual situation. It's been out all along. There have been something like, I don't know, several coaches that have, there's only been one that has survived the violation of the 10.1 code of the NCAA. And that wasn't even a football coach. It was a minor sport, and it was a woman coach that did that. I think what we're having here is I just read the internet. I see a tremendous amount of support inside, you know, Ohio. But you look outside Ohio, and you know, they say, hey, you know, he should be fired or he should resign. I mean, they're saying because he lied, he broke the law, or the code, or the ethics code, whatever. But then it comes here, those people don't know what all he has done while he has been here outside of football. And I think that's what has the university caught in the middle here as to what, because I'm sure that if it had been any other coach, you know, he'd probably been fired right away, I mean, for that violation. But here's a man who helped with the library. He does things to fight cancer and diseases and works all kinds of different things within the university. I think that if I could sit down and ask him a question, I guess I would be thinking, because, and you're innocent until proven guilty, but on the other hand, those allegations are pretty strong. And the evidence we have so far with the emails are pretty strong from that standpoint. And I would just like to say, Coach, what were you thinking? That, you know, that's kind of like if I was a reporter and he would give me a one-on-one, I'd like to say, Coach, what were you thinking?
Fritz, well, Fritz,
it's hard to,
yeah, well, Fritz, the interesting thing here is, and I said this when this story first broke about Tressel, I said if he had said that he knew when the players got in trouble, this would not be a huge story. Why didn't he say it then? Why did he wait? And he never really said it until he was outed. Why did he do that? I mean, it's hard to get in his brain, but why?
Well, only he knows for sure. It was a story that I think just has to naturally play out, and what will be, and we move on from there. I was
right.
always impressed with the guy. I always liked him, and I just hope it works out favorably for everybody.
Charlie, I want to come to you on this one because I think that Dave said something very important there. This is a good guy. I mean, he does do work for cancer research. He does, I believe he does have genuine affection for his players. Great guy. If he were not a winning coach and he were a great guy, would he still have his job?
It's hard to, you know, this has puzzled me over the past few weeks. I think, you know, Tressel has been the epitome of Mr. Good Guy. I mean, everything about him, his books, his speeches he gives. I mean, here's an #1 guy, but yet he succumbed to win at all costs, and it's gonna cost him his job eventually, I do believe.
Well, here's the thing. I was on radio when the story first came out. And one morning I went on and I said, and I gave an opinion. It was very clearly an opinion. Not that I felt he should be fired, but that I felt that that press conference did not showcase Ohio State in the best light, because President Gee was asked, I thought this was the worst part of it when they asked, and I like President Gee, very nice man, but when they asked him, is there any thought to dismissing Tressel? And he said, I just hope he doesn't dismiss me. That was not the time or place for that flip attitude, I think, the day that this story broke. Mary Ann, what's going to happen here?
Well, I think Gordon Gee was put in a bad light as well.
I think so.
I agree with you. And he is also a fine man. He was the president at West Virginia University when my son attended, and he really liked Gordon Gee a lot. And as far as Jim Tressel's concerned, I agree. He is, and you know what's sad? We all make mistakes. I mean, you know, nobody is perfect. And he's done so many good things. It really is a tragedy, quite frankly. But, you know, he's human. He really made a big mistake. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know. I know, just as Dave says, the people around the country think it's absolutely horrible because, you know, they feel if it happened in their territory, the coach would have been fired. So, you know, yes,
Well,
that's probably true.
Here's where I was going with that story. I lost it there for a second. I told that radio story for a reason. When I said that on the air, that not that he should be fired, but that Ohio State didn't look great during that press conference, people were attacking me.
Oh,
you know,
of
haven't
course.
you ever made a mistake in your life? La-di-da-di-da. And I thought, you know, he has done all these great things, but boy, we're defending him at all costs too. And I think it's costing us in other states. What do you think, Dave?
Well, if you listen to all of if you read all the bloggers and you listen to all the ESPN sports talk and you listen to all that, yeah, it is hurting Ohio State's reputation. Ohio State, we always have been kind of looked down upon, you know, across the country. Ohio State gets away with this, we do that. You know, everybody, there's a lot of Ohio State haters out there. I think as I read on one blogger was giving that information out. And I think nationally we really are. It's from the football program standpoint. I guess my concern is that I just don't want it to fall over into the reputation of the Ohio State University as an academic facility, because we have one of the greatest in the country. We have the OSU Medical Center, the James Cancer, we have Fisher College of Business, we have great research, and they're finally starting to work on taking that research and granting it out and making some money on that to provide jobs in Ohio. We got a lot of great things going on, and I just hope that it doesn't give that the football reputation doesn't give a national reputation of what a great university we have.
Anybody who knows you, Dave, knows that you're a supporter of Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
There's no problem with that. I hate to put you on the spot here, but I want to say the same thing I said to Charlie. If he wasn't a winning coach, would he have his job? Even if he did all the wonderful charity work, if he wasn't a winning coach, would he have his job?
No.
No.
Well, but Earl Bruce was a winning coach, and I still don't understand why he was let go. I mean, Earl Bruce got fired, and then he showed what he was made of by beating Michigan, the next weekend.
Right.
But he had like, 7, 8 winning seasons, and he was let go. But as I say, I never understood what the curveball was there.
Yeah, I do think the winning. I think if he wasn't a winner,
Oh, it does help, yeah.
you know, that situation. I kind of look back. You probably shouldn't do this, but I look back at other coaches besides Earl, and I think of John Cooper. If this would have happened in John Cooper's thing, he was a winner. He just didn't beat Michigan. Well, then what he had, and I think Kirk Herbstreit was quoted as saying that John Cooper would have probably been fired right on the spot if it would have happened. So yeah, winning does have a connection, as well as, and what he was talking about when he talks about, he goes around with the speeches and he talks about, Charlie, with all the wonderful things he talks about. I think that's the disappointing part. I mean, I read the book, you know, what you win with winners, or whatever, how you win, or whatever that book he wrote, And then he was going out and he talks a lot about dignity and integrity and all of this, and all of a sudden you got this turned around. And I think that says, oh, wait a minute. So that's why I want to ask him that question. Coach, what were you thinking? Did you have a brain cramp at the time? Did something hit you that thought, or was it winning at all costs, as Charlie put it? I don't know.
Yes, because he would have been without those players, right?
See, as I said to a friend of mine, all it took was one click of the mouse to get that information over to compliance. That's all it would take, just one click of the mouse, and it would be gone. And he wouldn't be in trouble.
I just cannot wrap my mind, and I even go back to Woody Hayes on this one, because Woody was let go. I mean, this is one of the greatest coaches of all time, was let go by a transgression that I'm sure he regretted. I don't think he ever admitted that he regretted it, but I think he regretted it. And because at that time, it was not the winning Woody Hayes that it had been.
Yeah, but that was a physical encounter. That's a little bit different. You throw a punch at a guy. That's a little
But
bit, you don't have a choice. I mean, winning or not winning, even if Woody would have been winning, and he threw a punch at that coach, he would have been gone. That's a physical, that's an assault altercation, so I think that would have been, I don't think there'd been any question, even if
Now,
he was undefeated.
Can the NCAA, can they compel President Gee to fire him?
I don't know. I don't
I
think
just
so.
wondered.
I don't think they can, no, they have just the charges, and the university responds. They have the hearing on August the 12th, and then they make their sanctions, and that's separate from whatever the university wants to do.
Of course, this is all opinion and speculation at this point, aside from what he did, because he did admit it, at least when he was finally brought out, he did admit it. But we have three ways to look at this. It's either fired, he resigns, or nothing happens. He gets fined and goes along and business is normal. Charlie, what's going to happen? Or what should happen? Let's put it that way. What should happen?
Well, it's hard to say. I could say, yes, he should be fired. But yet, I would be going against the wishes of many, many people. But reality is reality. I mean, and one thing he didn't do at that press conference was apologize. Wasn't he supposed to have apologized at the press conference?
Yeah, he did. He finally did up in
Yes.
Canton
Did
when
he?
he talked to supporters in Canton. He apologized. Then he apologized at one other speech a week later. But you're right. He didn't. He didn't apologize. He didn't say, he was sorry.
The whole situation just sounds unreal. I mean, considering his quality.
Well, what kind of an example to the players
Yeah.
is that, if they had some kind of infraction, they would be punished for it, obviously, and
Well, Marianne, resign, fired, or business as usual. Take a few penalties and go on.
I think if I were he, with all this surrounding controversy, I think I would resign. Because he will find another job. I mean, he's a fine coach. That's what I would do, but that's me. That doesn't mean anything.
Dave, what do you think?
Well, I think, I don't know what he should do. I mean, I can't speak for the man. I can't do that. I know this, that they have a lot of support with the university, has a lot of support for him right now, even with this transgression, even if it was a lie, even if they broke the NCAA code. Coach Tressel has been able to, get out of a lot of things, and turn around because of his qualities, because of the good things he does, because of the nice guy and the great guy that he is. Former players think he's the greatest in the world. I mean, all of that. So there's that dimension that makes me think he could survive this compared to some other coaches in other areas. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. Again, I go back to the fact that just so whatever happens doesn't reflect on the great university that Ohio State is. And we all know, I know pretty close, that in development, when Ohio State football wins, the phones ring off the hook on Monday and Tuesday in the development department, and when they lose the development department, the calls slow down a great deal. So football, as much as you criticize college football, and at least with Ohio State, is a great development. And I'm not just talking develop the OSU athletic department. There's money that goes to the James, to Fisher, to everything else because of what the university represents on the field. So I'm back to that. I just don't want it, whatever happens, I just don't want it to hurt the academic. And, you could sit down and say, well, gee, for the good of the university, maybe I should resign. Or I want to show the people I am a good man, and it was just a slip at one time. I want to stay. You know, it's hard to say. So I can't answer whether he should fire or resign. I don't know.
It's very hard. It is very hard, especially from a graduate's point of view, from that school. Fritz, what do you think?
Well, in the grand scheme of the cosmos, this too,
Now we're going to the cosmos.
no, I mean, this too shall pass. And in what,
Yeah.
3 weeks, for the mass world, this is gonna be like a yawn, who cares story. I think that if there is a penalty assigned to him that the bulk of the people feel is fair and that he feels is fair, he should say, okay, mea culpa, I will move on, I will stay, and I know this is gonna be with me for a while, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay and do it, you know.
Well, we hope whatever, I think Dave said it best. I mean, whatever happens, let's keep the integrity of the university number one priority. I think that's very, very important because a lot of things go on very well at Ohio State. And, you know, Jim O'Brien, I mean, we look back at that situation a few years ago. Things happen, stumbling blocks happen, but we make a decision and then we live with it and then we go on. So shall we do with this situation.
But he was fired right away.
Compare that to this, Dave.
I know, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's,
that's,
Yeah, that's a situation that you just, it's just hard to go, and it's just kind of, I don't know.
it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it is tough.
You know, the morning I went on and said that because I didn't think it was a big deal, and I'll admit I don't watch every football game that's on. I thought, okay, well, this is just another morning. And then people wanted me, you know, taken out and drugged through the street. And I wondered to myself, I thought, well, geez, I graduated from Ohio State. Maybe I'm allowed to have an opinion about the thing, but apparently not.
What about the saying, forgive and forget, move on?
There we go. And we're going to move on right now to our mailbag question on this Tuesday. My next door neighbor has an uncovered well. It looks like danger to the neighborhood children. I have asked him to cover it twice. Nothing has happened. What should I do? From Joseph in Marion.
Call the health department immediately.
And
Period.
they'll come right out.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mary?
That's the answer right there.
Well, what if this guy's your neighbor, though? I think the problem here is not that he couldn't cover it up, but you might not be getting a fruitcake at Christmas from this neighbor anymore if you call the health department on him.
Well-
How do you maintain integrity with him?
Well, I think the safety of the children should be paramount. You know, and that's a no-brainer.
Is there any way to keep the relationship with the neighbor without
Yes,
calling the
yes.
health department?
Well, obviously, this person has contacted the neighbor and it hasn't done any good, but I would continue to say, you know, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to report this to the health department unless you cover it. Maybe that would be enough.
Maybe. What do you think, Dave?
I agree with Charlie. I think you call the health department, and I mean, the health department guy, let him do the PR work and say, go to I understand, you know, he doesn't have to say we got a complaint. If he's smart, he won't say that to keep peace in the neighborhood. But the health department comes up and says, we've taken a look, your well's uncovered, we need to have it covered up. You know, I mean, and I don't know in the county if there's a citation. Is there a citation, Charlie, for that? I don't know if they do that. I don't know.
I don't know for sure, but if there isn't, there ought to be.
Yeah.
I
Certainly.
know there are some rules too on in-ground and up-ground swimming pools, fences.
Yeah, right.
Fritz, I'll give you the final word on this. Call the health department. How do you maintain the relationship with the neighbor? Will they be mad if you call the health department and the guy comes and... Because I get the feeling Joe has already been complaining, and probably if the health inspector shows up, the guy's gonna say, well, must have been Joe, because obviously nobody else has sent the health department out.
Well, but you come to a time of where you gotta do what you gotta do, and that's it. About the only other thing I could do would be maybe suggest that they put a nice stone wall around it and invite people to come over and throw pennies in and make a wish.
There you go. Why didn't I think of that,
Very-
Back to the
Mary Ann?
cosmos
I should have
now.
thought of that.
Very creative,
I
Fritz.
should have thought of that,
Very.
Mary Ann.
I have my moments.
If you have a
Not many.
question, if you have a question in the United States, in Ohio, or from the cosmos, you'd like to put to the mailbag, you can do that by contacting us on Facebook under the name The Exchange Marion, or email them to us at irmcommunications@gmail.com. Got a fun week coming up. Dave Kaler's going to stay with us for the rest of the week. We've got the beauty doctor, Mary Beth Mudd, coming on Thursday, and chiropractor Dr. Scott Gray on Friday. It's a big week here on The Exchange. Take care until Wednesday.